Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There's a tradition to chant 5 verses before we start the class. So let's chant verses 5 to 9 of part 1 of the Kena Upanishad.
Yadvachanabhyuditam yena bhagabhyudyate Tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate Yanmanasanamanute yena bhurmano matam Tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate Yachakshusha na pashyati yena chakshughoshi pashyati Tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate Yachrotrena na shrunoti yena shrotramidago shrutam Tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate Yat pranena na praniti yena pranah praniyate Tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate.
Knowledge brings fulfillment. Desire doesn't bring fulfillment. Everybody is looking for fulfillment, satisfaction in their lives. And the path that they are trying to get that satisfaction is through desires. Through desires, you can never find fulfillment because the nature of desires is it is insatiable. The more you contact the desires, the more the desires demand. The more you fulfill it, the more it demands. You will never find satiation through fulfillment of desire. There's only one way you can find satiation is through knowledge, is through understanding of the self. There's a parable about a beggar who became the king. And this person is a beggar, and from a young age, he's been begging. In that city, he's known to everyone, and people take pity on him and they give him a few quid. He also has to make a livelihood, so they give him some money. So he's used to it from a young age, he's lived that life. And in that city, in that kingdom, the royal family, they passed away and they have left everything to the care of their son. And that son was missing because there was a massive floods in that region and everybody was swept away. And the child was also swept away. So the prime minister is looking for the child who was swept away so that he can appoint the child as the king. Of course, now the child would have grown, would have become a young man. So the prime minister used to do checkups with different people to check if anyone fits the description. So it's customary for people to be pulled up and examined, and people knew that. So one day they caught this beggar and they started examining. When they started examining, they suddenly found that he had a mark on his right arm, which was the royal seal. So they asked, "How did you get that? Did you go to the palace and steal it?" He said, "What are you talking? I don't know that I had this. I thought it was some birthmark, something. I don't know how I got this. So they asked him a few questions and it fitted the description. What is the description of the king, the lost child? He's a lost child. They found him. They said, "Hey, you're that lost prince. You're going to be the king." He said, "What are you joking about? I've been a beggar all my life. Just leave me alone. Let me beg peacefully, No, 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 no. You got to become the king now. This is your duty. You're born for that." So they took him out of the streets. First of all, they gave him a shave. Uh, you know, beggar is a full thing. Now, that doesn't mean everybody who has a beard is a beggar. I'm not saying that. But, the fellow, so he needed a shave, needed a shower, everything. So fully, they cleaned him up. And then they put him on the throne. Said, "Listen, this is what you've got to be a king now." And he lived the life of the king. He got used to it. One day, he had a thought. He said, "What would have my life have been if I continued to be the beggar?" So he had the clothes still there with him. So one night he called his charioteer and he said, "Hey, just drive me into town. I want to go in disguise and I want to try begging." So the charioteer said, "Sir, it's very dangerous. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's okay. Let's do that." So the middle of the night he went with all the makeup, and he's got the best makeup artist, royal makeup artist. So he got all that thing covered. He went into town and he started begging just for fun. You understand? Just to see. And others were saying, "Hey, where were you? We didn't see you for so long. Here, I've been saving up some money for you. Take it. Here, take it. Take it." Other person said, "Hey, you've come to irritate us again. Just get lost." So different reactions he had from different people. Now, what is interesting to note is when he was begging earlier, he used to get affected. If he received some money, he used to be elated. If somebody rejected him, he used to feel depressed. But now that he is getting money or getting rejected, will he be affected by it? He is not affected by it. You get some money. What is different does that money make? It doesn't make any money. So what is the difference between this person begging before and this person begging now? What is the difference? Anyone? What is the difference between the person begging before and the person begging now? He knows who he is.
Like everything now, Bhaskarji.
He knows who he is, correct. He's got, see, when he was begging earlier, he was the king. You understand? He was the prince, he was the king, but he did not know that he was the king. So you can't say earlier he wasn't the king, now he became the king. That is the difference. No, that's not true. He was the king then. He is a king now. But earlier he did not know that he was the king. Now he knows that he's the king. The difference is knowledge. When you know yourself, when you know your true nature is the Atman, and you operate in the world, you will not be affected by anything in the world. Best of things, worst of things won't affect you because you have got your true identity. You know who you are. If you're getting affected, it means you don't have your true identity. You're not established in your true identity. So it is that knowledge of yourself, knowledge of your true identity that gives you that fulfillment. When you're fulfilled within, there's no affectation. Men may come and men may go, but I go on forever, said the brook in Shakespeare's play. A brook which was flowing, it said, "Men may come and men may go, but I go on forever." You're not affected by other people's actions. People come, people go, but you are steadfast in your goal. You are steadfast in your mission. Little knowledge gives a little fulfillment. Complete knowledge gives you complete fulfillment. So it's not only absolute, it's also relative. To the extent you develop yourself, you improve yourself, you've got that self-knowledge. To that extent, you're fulfilled, you don't get affected. And self-realization is total knowledge of Brahman, complete knowledge of Brahman, complete satiation, complete fulfillment. That's why in the earlier classes I use that word, see that word on the screen. It's called Paripurna. Paripurna. Purna in Sanskrit means complete, full, total. Paripurna means completely full, completely total. So total completion, total fulfillment. No void within at all, no dissatisfaction at all. But the moment you try to find that fulfillment through desires, is never ending. You fulfill one desire, another desire comes up. You fulfill that desire, another desire comes up. It goes on and on and on. I remember talking to a multimillionaire, and the multimillionaire was sad. And I asked him, "What's happened, man? Anything, any loss with your business?" He was a well-wisher, and he was supporting us long time ago. So he said, no, everything is okay. Then I said, "Man, why are you feeling so down?" He said, "You know what? One of my friends, he's become a billionaire." I said, "Oh, okay. Good to hear that." He said, No. I have been working hard for 30 years. I have not joined the billionaire club. That guy started business much later than me. Now he's in the billionaire club. You understand? The fellow is depressed. That he's a multimillionaire, but he's not become billionaire. I felt sorry for him. I felt like giving him some 20 pounds, I said, "Hope this 20 pounds will help you to become billionaire." He almost felt like giving something to that person. So it's interesting how you feel, that desire, how it plays with you. You feel dissatisfied. See, Djokovic, how many titles Djokovic has won, what an illustrious career Djokovic has. And now when he's commenting, he's saying, "My God, I have to get that one more. I have to win one more Grand Slam." He feels dissatisfied because he's not won the 26th Grand Slam. Not satisfied with all that he's achieved so far. The mind makes you believe you have not achieved anything because that one you don't have. Very, very interesting how the mind plays. So Paripurna is to find that sense of completion, sense of satisfaction. The Guru in the Kena Upanishad is in that state of total fulfillment, total satiation. And he's talking to the student. And in the previous mantra that we covered, mantra 3, the Guru followed up from mantra 2. In mantra 2, he gave the definition of Brahman, that which makes the eyes see, not what the eyes see. That which makes the ear hear, not what the ear hears. That which makes your mind feel, not what the mind feels. That is Brahman. That is a pure consciousness. And then in the third mantra, the Guru said, the eye cannot reach that, speech cannot reach that, mind cannot reach that. In other words, you can't contact that Brahman through your body, mind, or intellect. Through perceptions, emotions, and thoughts, you cannot contact Brahman. We do not know it. We do not know how to impart it. The Guru is saying, I don't know it. What he means when he says, I don't know it is, of course, he knows Brahman, but he's saying, I don't know Brahman objectively. Like you know stuff in the world, you see stuff, you think about things in the world. He says, you can't think about Brahman like that. You can't see Brahman like that. So I do not know Brahman objectively, but I know Brahman subjectively. We do not know how to impart it. We don't know how to communicate it objectively. You've got to realize it subjectively. From within, you've got to understand it. There was a story about Dhruva. Dhruva was a young boy, and Dhruva was very attached to his father. His father was a king. The father had 2 wives. and the father was attached to that first wife. The second wife's son was Dhruva, and Dhruva wanted the father's attention. But whenever he went towards his father, the first wife will come and bring her children and drive him away. So he used to cry and come to his mother and said, Mom, nobody loves me, nobody loves me. To which mother said, Son, don't worry, there's always one person who loves you, and that is Vishnu. Vishnu always loves you. He said, Is it? Yes. He said, Where is Vishnu? Mom said, Vishnu is within you. Is within you. He said, How do I see him? How do I get him? You got to meditate on him single pointedly. The boy said, Okay. So at night, when the whole palace was asleep, he went out. Young fellow, small boy, went out and he started meditating. He was so innocent. Whatever the mother said, he followed. He went there and he started meditating on Vishnu. Story goes, Vishnu was so impressed with this boy that he came in front of him and said, Hey son, I've come here to answer your prayers. Ask me whatever you want. But Dhruva wanted to open his eyes. Vishnu saying, Hey, I've come here, open your eyes. To which Dhruva said, No, I won't open my eyes because mom said that you are within me. You have to come within me. Only then I will open my eyes. Vishnu said, You're a tough guy, you're a tough guy. So the story goes that Vishnu came within and then he got enlightenment. It's just a story. Means it's not outside. God is not outside, it's within. You got to find it out within. So that's what they're saying. We do not know it. We do not know how to impart it. So see that. The third mantra. Very carefully, the guru is guiding the student. The eye cannot reach that, nor mind, nor speech. We know it not. We do not know how to impart it. Now, after saying this mantra, the guru knows what the student is thinking. See, the good teacher is one who identifies with the student, knows what the student is thinking, is prepared for what the student is thinking. So, since the teacher has said that no, you cannot contact it, it is unknown. So, therefore, he knows the student will think, oh, Brahman is unknown. Brahman cannot be contacted. It is unknown. It's unknown. And therefore, in the fourth mantra, which is where we concluded last week, the teacher says it is beyond unknown. So not only it is beyond whatever you know in this world, it is also beyond the unknown. And that statement is one of the highest statements. Anyat viditam aviditam. Viditam means known, aviditam means unknown. Beyond known and also beyond unknown. That's why this mantra is also known as a Mahavakya mantra. One day I will tell you all what are the 4 Mahavakyas. This is not one of those 4, but this whole mantra is known as a Mahavakya mantra. Now, why is it said it is beyond unknown? See, internet was unknown 100 years ago. It is known now, but 100 years ago, people did not know what internet was. You understand? So if you were to tell a person 100 years ago, oh, there'll be something called internet, they'll say, what are you talking? I don't know that. But in the future, it has come. It's true. So the guru is clarifying, Brahman is not like that. It's not that in the future there'll be a technology with which you can contact Brahman, with which you will know Brahman. You understand? There'll be AI, there'll be other technologies coming up. Or the student may be thinking, perhaps with those technologies, I can contact Brahman. The guru says he rules out that possibility. No, even in the future, you cannot contact it. You're discovering various galaxies. Doesn't matter. You can't contact it. You can't discover Brahman extrovertedly, outwardly. So he's ruling out the possibility of contacting Brahman externally. So see that mantra 4. that indeed is other than the known, also beyond the unknown. So you can't say Brahman is unknown. It is beyond the known and the unknown. Thus have we heard from the ancients who expounded that to us. The ancients, meaning their gurus, their teachers have taught them and they are passing it on. And that humility they're expressing, that whatever state I've reached is because of my teachers, my gurus, that whole lineage of gurus. I salute them. Now the question is, what do they mean by known and unknown? There are three interpretations. The first interpretation, the simplest interpretation is known, viditam, means whatever you know, the realms of your knowledge. See, a person may know mathematics, the person may know physics, the person may know golf, the person may know football. So many different things the person knows. All that you know, all the realms of the knowledge is viditam, known. Brahman is beyond that. Similarly, unknown means the realms of ignorance, what you don't know. There's various things you don't know at this stage, to which they're saying it is beyond that unknown as well. Suppose I ask you, do you know English? I hope you'll all say, yes, I know it. Otherwise, I'll wonder why you're coming to this class. Everything is in English. So you say, I know English. And I probe you further. I say, are you sure you know English? Of course, I know English. How do you know that you know English? I say, what are you asking? I know that I know English. I have no doubt. I'm very clear that I know English. Are you sure that you know English? Of course, I'm sure that I know English. So any amount of time I ask you, you'll keep going back, and what will you say? You'll say, I know that I know that I know what? That I know English. And suppose I ask you, do you know Welsh? You'll say, what? Why will I know Welsh? I don't know Welsh. Are you sure you don't know Welsh? Of course, I'm sure I don't know Welsh. Really? Of course. So what do you don't know? I know that I don't know Welsh. Maybe there are one or two Welsh-speaking speakers here. So I'll say Swahili. Do you know Swahili? You'll say, I don't know Swahili. So you know that you know English. You know that you don't know Swahili. You understand? For both the statements, you say, I know. I know that I know English. I know that I don't know Swahili. So that knowledge with which you know is the same knowledge with which you don't know. That knowledge enlivens your knowledge as well as ignorance. What you know, what you don't know, both are enlivened by the same knowledge, by the same pure consciousness. You say you know chemistry. How do you say that? I know that I know chemistry. Do you know law? No, I don't know law. How do you say that? I know that I don't know law. So the same knowledge that makes you aware of what you know is the same knowledge that makes you aware of what you don't know. That pure consciousness, that awareness is Brahman. Known, unknown, viditam, aviditam. Beyond what you know, beyond what you don't know. Secondly, the scholarly interpretation. The first one is a practical interpretation. I know, I don't know. The second is a scholarly interpretation of what is known and unknown. What you know is your own body, mind, intellect. You know your physical body. You know your mind and its emotions. You know your thoughts and your ideas. So what you know, viditam, is your body, mind, and intellect. What is known as the gross and subtle bodies. But you don't know your vasanas. You don't know the causal body. You're aware of your thoughts and emotions, but you don't know anything subtler than that. But Brahman is beyond the causal body as well, is beyond vasanas as well. So therefore, is beyond known and unknown, beyond your gross and subtle bodies, and also beyond the causal body. Third interpretation is the subtlest interpretation. And what is this subtle interpretation? Known and unknown. Remember that. We are interpreting. So what is known to people is this perishable world. This entire perishable world, you know it. You can contact it with your body, mind, intellect. So this entire perishable world can be classified as viditam, known. And what is unknown is the substratum that is supporting this world. There is some power that is holding this world together, that is supporting this world together. All the laws in the world of operating meticulously, there is some supreme law that is managing all these laws. There is a law of gravity. There's a law of conservation of energy. And that law has operated in the past, in the present, and in the future. Who's controlling it? Who's managing it? You say there is a supreme law that is managing all these laws. So that substratum that is supporting the world, you don't know what it is. It's just your projection, but you don't know exactly what that is. But Brahman is beyond that. So Brahman is beyond the perishable world. It is beyond the imperishable substratum as well. It is completely beyond known and unknown. You can't conceive it. You can't contact it. So three interpretations which virtually rules out all that you can know, all that you may know in the future. Everything is ruled out. So what is the conclusion you come to at the end of it? There is no way I know Brahman. There is no way I can contact Brahman externally. You rule out that possibility of contacting Brahman externally. You can only contact Brahman internally. So see that. Brahman beyond known and unknown. These are the two Sanskrit words for known and unknown, viditam and aviditam. The first is the practical interpretation, what you know and what you don't know, known and unknown. Brahman is beyond what you know and what you don't know. Second is the scholarly interpretation. What you know is gross and subtle bodies. What you don't know is the causal body, which is vasanas. Brahman is beyond gross, subtle, and the causal body. And third, the subtle interpretation, which is known refers to this perishable world, unknown refers to the imperishable substratum. Brahman is beyond the perishable world and the imperishable substratum. So God is the enlivening principle with which you are aware of this world. Therefore, you cannot use the world to become aware of God. God is that pure consciousness. So you take an example of an incident ray of light, and that incident ray of light falls on water. And when that incident ray of light falls on water, it gets refracted. And that refracted ray is the knowledge with which you're contacting the world. You're aware of the sound that you hear, the sound of my voice. You're aware of that. You're aware of the image that you see on the screen. What makes you aware of the sound, what makes you aware of the image is that pure consciousness. There's something that makes you aware not only of your seeing and smelling and tasting and touching, also of your feeling and thinking. The thoughts in your mind, you don't know Only when the pure consciousness hits the thoughts, you're aware of the thoughts. So pure consciousness is the enlivening principle behind your thoughts, behind your perceptions and emotions. See that. The pure consciousness, when it strikes your thoughts, you know those thoughts. You're aware of the world. But if the pure consciousness does not strike the thoughts remain unknown. The thoughts are unknown per se. When the pure consciousness contacts the thoughts, you know the thoughts. You're aware of the world, you contact the world. So from this diagram, what can you derive? Pure consciousness plus thoughts is equal to knowledge. Pure consciousness plus thoughts is equal to knowledge. Pure consciousness is another phrase for Atman, for Brahman. I repeat, pure consciousness plus thoughts is knowledge. So what is pure consciousness? Is the knowledge minus thoughts. What you know minus thoughts. So all that you know minus the thoughts, what remains is a pure consciousness. So to contact pure consciousness, you have to go beyond thoughts. In that example, if you remove that water completely from that tray, and then the ray of light falls on that, there's no water, it can't get reflected. There's only pure consciousness. There's only the incident ray. That is enlightenment. That is self-realization. There's no thoughts. There's no reflection. There's just the pure consciousness. The pure consciousness is known minus unknown. What is known is the knowledge. What is unknown is thoughts. What you know minus thoughts is known minus unknown. That is pure consciousness. That is Atman. I'll give you another example that will make it easier for you to understand. Imagine you walk into a warehouse and the warehouse has not been used for months and a lot of dust is collected in the warehouse, and you want to make it usable and you want to clean the whole warehouse, you want to sweep the dust. You take a broom and you start sweeping, and as you start sweeping, the dust rises. Now there is a hole in the roof of that warehouse and there is sunlight coming in. It's a sunny day, so you see the sun through that roof, but you don't see any sunlight coming in. As you're sweeping the warehouse and as the dust particles rise, what happens? You see a thick beam of sunlight. The dust particles are framing that sunlight. Before the dust particles were there, you did not see that sunlight. Only after the dust particles started rising, you saw the thick band of sunlight coming from the roof of the warehouse to the floor of the warehouse. Now, what do you understand from that example? Light per se you cannot see. Pure light you don't see. What you see is light plus dust. Light plus object is what you're seeing. That's why when you go beyond the Earth's atmosphere, when there's nothing there to reflect, you don't see sunlight. It's all dark. Beyond the Earth's atmosphere, it's dark because there's nothing to reflect sunlight. You need an object to reflect light. Pure light you cannot see. What you're seeing is light plus object. So pure light is what you see minus the object. So what you see is light plus object. So from that, what can you derive? What is pure light? Whatever you see minus the object. Similarly, what is pure consciousness? What you know minus thoughts. What you know is pure consciousness plus thoughts. From that, you derive what is pure consciousness? What you know minus thoughts. Known minus unknown. See that? The comparison between light and pure consciousness. Pure light is what you see minus the object. What you are seeing right now is light plus object. Therefore, light is what you see minus object. Similarly, what you know is pure consciousness plus thoughts. Therefore, what is pure consciousness? What you know minus thoughts. Known minus unknown. That's what the Guru is saying. It is beyond known, beyond unknown. Soumya?
Hari Om Bhaskarji.
Yeah.
Please, can you explain again why thoughts are unknown?
Thoughts per se are unknown. The difficulty in understanding that is you've never experienced that. Probably the closest you experience that is in deep sleep. In deep sleep, all your thoughts are in a dormant state, and you don't know your thoughts in deep sleep. That is probably the only state which is coming close to that. The reason why you can't understand that is the pure consciousness is all pervading. It is always there. So your thoughts are always enlivened. The thoughts are always known. But what we are discussing is if you imagine there is no pure consciousness, then the thoughts will remain unknown. You won't be able to know it. What makes you know the thoughts is pure consciousness. Without pure consciousness, you won't know the thoughts. Per se, thoughts are unknown in that sense, without pure consciousness.
With that explanation, is that suggesting that if there's no consciousness, that thoughts are still there but unknown, or that there are like no possibility for thoughts?
That's right. Without pure consciousness, thoughts are there, but you don't know it. You don't know the thoughts are there. But in practical life, you will never experience it. Because in practical life, the pure consciousness is always there. There's never a stage where pure consciousness is never there. It's always there. Therefore, you take it for granted. That's why we are going to study that in the third portion of the Kena Upanishad. There's a story where Brahman makes itself unknown. And then the gods struggle because Brahman is unknown and all their powers go away. They don't have any power. Fire god doesn't have any power to burn. Wind god doesn't have any power to blow because Brahman withdraws itself. It's just a story given to highlight that per se you don't have any power. Per se you cannot know anything without Brahman.
Okay, thank you.
Known minus unknown. What you know minus thoughts, which is unknown. Similarly, light is what you see minus objects. And then the second line of that fourth mantra, where the Guru gave a Vaidika Shabda Pramanam, which is a Vedic method of revelation. Vaidika Shabda Pramanam, a Vedic method of revelation. And what is the Vedic method of revelation? It's based on tradition. What is known as Sampradaya. Sampradaya means tradition. There's a lot of importance given to tradition for the simple reason that Brahman cannot be verified. So you use tradition. What is a tradition? In the past, great teachers, great masters have realized Brahman through the same method. If I apply the same method as what they applied, I can also achieve that. They went within, they didn't go into the world. They contemplated, they meditated, and found Brahman within. I've got to approach that same way. I can't approach Brahman externally and find it. This is the tradition which was practiced, which I need to follow. 4 methods with which you can gain knowledge. What are the 4 methods with which you can gain knowledge? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upama, and Agama. Pratyaksha means perception. You know things in the world, you can learn about the world through perception, through seeing. There are people who are blind, who can't see, but they can hear. So it's not only seeing, but even through hearing, you know about the world, you can learn about the world through smelling, through tasting, through touching, the 5 senses. So pratyaksha, the first method of knowing the world, is through perception. Second method is through inference. You may not see it directly. You walk past your friend's house, you see his car on the driveway, you infer that he's in the house because he usually takes his car and goes. You don't know it, you're not verified it, but just by seeing the car, you infer that he's probably there in the house. The second method of knowledge is inference, Anumana. Third method is through comparison, and that is called Upama, through metaphors, similes, analogies. The state of self-realization is like a river joining the ocean. The river has an individuality. When it joins the ocean, the river loses its individuality, but instantly becomes a totality. It's an example given in the Mukhya Upanishad, in the Bhagavad Gita. So you use that comparison, use that analogy to say, I get some sort of an idea what self-realization is. It is like the river joining the ocean. Directly you don't know it, but through comparison you get some sort of an idea. Fourth method is Agama, which is tradition. Tradition is the path of faith, the path of surrender. You have faith in what the masters have given in the past. You surrender to the knowledge that they're providing. So see that. 4 methods with which you can gain knowledge. Pratyaksha, perception. Anumana, inference. Upama, comparison. Agama, tradition. So this is the highest mantra the teacher can give. And after giving this mantra, 5 mantras are going to follow where the teacher repeats. These 5 mantras are very rare because the Upanishads never repeat. They never use the word more than once. But in these 5 mantras, you're going to see they're going to repeat the same message again and again and again. And we'll see why they're repeating this message 5 times. So mantra 5.
यद्वाचानभ्युदितं येन वागभ्युद्यते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते यद्वाचानभ्युदितं येन वागभ्युद्यते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते.
The second line is repeated 5 times. The first line, the Guru changes a little bit. That which cannot be expressed by speech, that by which speech is expressed. He's defining what Brahman is. You cannot speak of Brahman, but what makes you speak is Brahman. Know that alone to be Brahman, not this which people worship. What people are worshipping in this world, that is not God. But what is God? God is that which makes you speak, not what you speak. You may speak the spiritual verses. You may chant spiritual verses. It doesn't matter. That is not Brahman. See, another person speaks foul language. What makes the person speak foul language is also Brahman. What makes you speak spiritual language is Brahman. So it is not what you speak that matters, it is what makes you speak. That alone is Brahman, not what you're worshipping in the world. What people are worshipping in the world has got nothing to do with Brahman. What are people worshipping? People are worshipping idols in the world. They are worshipping symbols. So symbols and idols are different from the real thing. The Sanskrit word for idol is linga. Like you have the Shiva linga. So the word linga means idol, symbol. Idol is different from ideal. Idol is meant to take you towards that ideal. The national flag is an idol which represents national consciousness, which is the ideal. The wedding ring or the wedding necklace is an idol, is a symbol which represents the sacred union between the two, which is the ideal. If the national flag is torn, it doesn't mean the nation is destroyed. High winds, strong winds tear the national flag. That doesn't mean we have to sit and mourn, oh, the national flag is torn, the country is gone. No, it's just a symbol. It can be replaced. Similarly, your wedding ring is just a symbol. The wedding necklace is just a symbol. Conveniently, you can't say, oh, my wedding ring is lost. Bye-bye, dear. Bye-bye. Nice knowing you. Wedding ring is lost. That's not an easy way to get out of your marriage. You understand? So, wedding ring is just a symbol. It's not the real thing. So, idol is different from the ideal. Symbol is different from the goal. So the purpose of idols is to give you a support structure. It is to give you that support to conceive what you don't know. When you can conceive it directly, you don't need the idols anymore. When you have knowledge, idols become redundant. You don't need idols. See, when you go to a hospital, you go to a hospital because you're ill. You need to be treated. And once you're treated, you're free of the disease. You come out of the hospital. You go to the hospital in order to come out. You want to come out fast. That's why you go to the hospital. Similarly, you take up rituals. You go to the temple. Why? Because you want to grow out of these rituals one day. So if you're stuck to the rituals, it means you've not grown. When you're grown, you don't need rituals anymore because you're able to see the real thing. You're able to conceive the real thing. So that's what the Guru is cautioning. He's saying, whatever people are worshipping in this world is not God. They are symbols of God. They are idols of God. Don't get carried away by it. Use these idols, use these symbols in order to go within and locate God. That alone is Brahman, not what you worship in this world. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vitti Nedam Yadidam Upasate. It appeals to all religions, all worshippers. The sweeping statement that the Guru makes. Same thing is repeating in the next few mantras. Mantra 6.
Yanmanasa namanute yena hurmano matam Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate Yanmanasa namanute yena hurmano matam Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate.
Last verse, he spoke about speech. Now he's talking about the mind. That which cannot be visualized by the mind, that by which the mind visualizes, so they say, that alone is Brahman, not what you worship in this world. Know that alone to be Brahman, not this which people worship. Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Neidam Yadidam Upasate. That second line is repeated in these 5 mantras. Your mind cannot feel Brahman. When he uses the word mind here, he includes intellect as well. You cannot think of Brahman. You cannot feel Brahman. What makes you feel, what makes you think is Brahman. So through devotion, you cannot contact God. Through knowledge or the scriptures, you can't contact God. God is beyond devotion. God is beyond knowledge. Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi. That alone is Brahman. That alone is God. Not what you're worshipping in the world. Not how you're contacting Brahman in this world. The state of self-realization, state of Brahman, is also defined as a state of no mind, state of no thoughts. In the last stage of meditation, the last thought is dropped. And when you go beyond thought, you experience Atman, you experience Brahman. So through meditation, you are removing the last thought. You're removing the mind. Mind means a flow of thoughts. When there's no thought, there is no mind. That state of mindlessness is the state of self-realization. The people use the word mindfulness. It's exactly the opposite. The state of perfection is mindlessness, thoughtlessness, vasanalessness, desirelessness. It's called in Sanskrit as Amani Bhava. Mana means mind. Amani means no mind. Amani Bhava, state of no mind, is a state of perfection. See that? Amani Bhava, state of no mind, mindlessness is a state of perfection, state of enlightenment. You can't conceive it with the mind and the intellect. So with the speech, you cannot talk of God, you cannot describe God through speech. Similarly, through the mind, you cannot feel it in devotion. You cannot conceive it through thoughts and ideas. See, you may ask, why are they repeating 5 times? See, the first reason is because the student in the Upanishads is receptive. Student wants to learn. And it is a very important concept. Therefore, this teacher feels the necessity to repeat it. When something is important, you ask that person, hey, did you get it? Did you get what I said? And you don't mind repeating it because you know it's very important. So you should not get irritated. Why are they repeating 5 times? I got it. No, you may think you've got it, but you've not got it. In fact, in the next part of the Kena Upanishad, in the very first mantra of the next part, the Guru tells the student, if you think you know it, you do not know it. You understand? Because sometimes you feel when you go through this mantra, I think I've got it, I think I know it. And then the Guru says, no. If you think you know it, you don't know it. So he repeats it 5 times to ensure that you realize that you don't know and you can't contact Brahman in the world. Next mantra. Mantras 7 and 8, we can chant it together.
Yachakshusha na pashyati yena chakshu goshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. Yachakshusha na pashyati yena chakshu goshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate.
7 and 8 are very similar. That's why we chant it together. No, let's see 7. It's okay. See the translation for mantra 7. That which one sees not by the eye, that by which one's eyes see. So the previous verses, he spoke about speech and mind. Now he's talking about eyes. Your eyes cannot see Brahman. What makes your eyes see is Brahman. Know that alone to be Brahman, not this which people worship. Mantra 8, he is talking about ear. So eyes and ears are similar. Both are organs of perception. Let's see Mantra 8.
यच्छ्रोत्रेण न शृणोति येन श्रोत्रमिदगो श्रुतम् तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते यच्छ्रोत्रेण न शृणोति येन श्रोत्रमिदगो श्रुतम् तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते
That which one hears, not by the ear, that by which this hearing is heard. Know that alone to be Brahman, not this which people worship. What makes your ear, not what your ear hears. So that enlivening principle, that subject within that makes you see, that makes you feel, that makes you hear, that makes you think, that is Brahman, not what you contact through your eyes, ears, feelings and thoughts. So these two mantras are both talking about organs of perception. So this is true worship. True worship or true prayer is that internal search to discover Brahman. So true prayer or worship is not the external chants, is not the visit to the temple or the church or the mosque. It is not to go on pilgrimages. That is not true prayer and true worship, but that introverted search to discover God within. You can use all the prayers, you can use all the pilgrimages ultimately to become introverted and see God within. So it's not that you should not do rituals, it's not that you should not do the prayers. You can do it if you want to, but where should be your focus? I have to go beyond the idol to discover that ideal. I have to discover that subjective principle within. And now one more mantra, mantra 9, where he talks about pranas.
यत् प्राणेन न प्राणिति येन प्राणः प्रणीयते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते यत् प्राणेन न प्राणिति येन प्राणः प्रणीयते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते
See, authoritatively, the Upanishads declare, know that alone to be Brahman, not this which people worship in this world. That which one sustains not by the prana. Prana means the physiological functions within, which is called as vital air, because all those physiological functions are maintained through breath, through air. That by which prana is sustained. So prana means those internal organs, internal functions like digestion, circulation, perception, thought absorption. So all these pranas, they are sustained by Brahman. See, in other words, it's not breath that keeps you alive. It is Brahman that makes you breathe. Without Brahman, you can't breathe. So ultimately, it is Brahman that keeps you alive, not breathing. Breathing is enabled by Brahman. So what makes you breathe, what makes you see, what makes you feel, what makes you think, that subjective principle is Brahman. So you cannot contact Brahman through seeing, through feeling, through breathing. Pranayama, the breathing exercises. By doing pranayama, you can't become spiritual. You can't understand Brahman through breathing exercises. Your lungs will become better. You will get strong lungs. That is all you can achieve through pranayama. But to get to Brahman, you got to have that introverted thought, that introverted search to find it within. So here is the authority. There's nothing more authoritative that you will get. And you think about this. So what we have studied so far, think about it. And when we start the class next week, I will summarize from these few verses, and then we'll move on to the second part of the Kena Upanishad. The second part of the Kena Upanishad has got only 5 mantras. This part is 9 mantras. 5 mantras we have, and then we will cover that. You'll find it a little bit easier, the second part of the Kena Upanishad. And then as we go along, third part will be even more simpler. Fourth part will be simpler. So you got the worst out of the way. The most difficult part, you've got it out of the way. But we'll be revisiting these concepts in the other parts as well. I'll take up the questions now. Soumya?
Sorry, this is more of like a grammar structure thing. The M with the, I don't know what you even call that.
Oh, yes.
Above it. How is that pronounced?
Midagum, Shrotra Midagum, like in mantra 8. Yet Shrotrena na Shrunoti, Yena Shrotra Midagum Shrutam.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yes.
And then I know you said that all the Upanishads, they're mantras and not verses, right? Is it just the nature of mantras to not have like a set meter that they're said in?
No, not only is the meter different, but the composition of these verses are different. There's a combination of prose and poetry in the Upanishads. So Upanishads mantras are more prose, whereas in Bhagavad Gita is more poetry. So that's why Bhagavad Gita is more poetical, whereas Upanishad is more direct, is more prose.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Tushar Bhai?
Hariam Bhaskar Bhai.
Hariam.
Might sound like a bit of an elementary question. I just want to understand, can we contact Brahman via prayer, actual traditional prayer, or is like introverted search a type of prayer then? Like,
go and listen to my lecture again. Huh? What are you asking? I just explained that, and you're asking the same question. I'm saying that is what is true prayer is that introverted search, not the external prayer, not the external chanting of the mantra. Jagdish.
Pranam Bhaskarji. You very clearly explained the how desires don't give fulfillment, and knowledge can give you fulfillment. But then is the quest for knowledge also never ending like for desires? If it is, then can it lead to fulfillment?
No, the discovery of knowledge will keep you unfulfilled. It is when you gain that knowledge, ultimately, you realize that you don't need desires anymore. The need for desires drop because you've found that fulfillment within, which you will not know right now, which you will know only when you gain that knowledge. When you gain that knowledge and you get that fulfillment, then you will realize, why do I need desires? I don't need desires anymore. Just as when the dreamer wakes up and gets the knowledge of the waker, all the desires of the dream are fulfilled. All the dissatisfaction in the dream gets fulfilled when you wake up. After you wake up, you don't want to go back to the dream. You have understood the dream is just an illusion, it's just a projection. You're satisfied with the knowledge of the waker. And all the dream desires drop away once you gain the knowledge of the waker.
Okay.
Exactly.
And when we say that the desires are an illusion, and you realize that, does that include the desire for knowledge also?
Yes, it includes the desire for knowledge also. Correct. It includes the desire for self-realization as well. Okay. The desire for self-realization also is limited desire. It belongs to the world. Once you realize the self, then you realize, I don't need the desire for self-realization. But you need the desire to get there. Once you get there, you go about the desire. You don't need the desire.
Right. And then a corollary to this, Bhaskarji, is that the entire knowledge that we are talking about and that quest for knowledge, but that knowledge in our current form resides in the indriyas and the jnanendriyas, and that will end with the sharir. Then how is that knowledge going to be eternal with the Brahman or with the Atman?
See, when the Upanishads are using the word knowledge of the self, what they mean by knowledge of self is not the knowledge which is there in the Vedas, which is in the books, which is communicated through the lectures, not that knowledge, but that subjective realization within. That's what they're calling as knowledge. Like the knowledge of the waker, when you gain the knowledge of the waker, you become the waker. That knowledge they're talking about, that internal awakening, that internal realization. Yes, I have realized Brahman within. That knowledge is what they're calling as knowledge. That will give you the fulfillment, satisfaction.
Right. Yeah, clear.
You understand? So a person could read the Upanishads, could read Bhagavad Gita, could read the Quran, Bible. That won't give fulfillment. Not the mere reading of the verses and the mantras, but that effort you make to convert it into wisdom and realize it within, that will give the satiation. Okay. Sunila.
Pranam Bhaskarji. I think I haven't understood the part where speech in the sense is through the Brahman. So someone would say spiritual talk, someone is a standard, and someone with filthy talk. So where is the difference if everything is because of Brahman?
See, Brahman is neutral. Brahman is only giving you the power to speak. How you speak, Brahman is not responsible for it. Just like petrol gives you the power to drive. You can drive rashly, you can drive safely, but petrol is not responsible for it. You can't blame petrol. You can't go and sue BP and Shell after the accident. You understand? Petrol has nothing to do with it. It just gives you the power to drive. How you drive depends upon the driver.
Okay.
So similarly,
specific.
Sorry?
Specific person.
Exactly. It is your mind and intellect which determines how you speak, how you conduct yourself. You can't blame God for that.
Thank you.
Welcome. Arjun?
Hari Om Bhaskarji.
Hari Om.
Yeah, so I understand that the Atma is synonymous with Brahman. But we talk about it as if it's some divisible, localized form, and that same local form persists through the cycles of life and death in reincarnation. But
sorry, when you say form, what do you mean? You're meaning your form, your body?
No, I mean as in if we view Brahman as like a cloud of consciousness, that the Atma is like a discrete section of that consciousness that even through life and death of people's physical bodies still persists.
Yes.
So my question is, so in that sense, when we engage in actions, it's not us accruing the karma of those actions, it's Brahman accruing it. So in Vedanta...
No, Brahman doesn't accrue. What are you talking? What are you mixing things? Brahman is above the law of karma. Brahman is above the world. Brahman is above cause and effect. It is your mind and intellect that goes through cause and effect. Brahman has nothing to do with it.
Does that mind and intellect is not still Brahman if existence is Brahman?
No. There's no mind and intellect in the state of Brahman. You're mixing the levels. From the relative level, there is body, mind, intellect, and then there is Brahman above. But from the standpoint of Brahman, there is nothing else except Brahman. So if you're viewing it from the standpoint of Brahman, there is no world, there is no body, there's no mind, there is no knowledge, there's no class, there's no questioner, there is no teacher, nothing from the standpoint of Brahman. But from a relative level, there is a duality that you're reflecting. So don't mix the levels. If you're saying there's only Brahman, then I'll ask you, who are you? What is that name? That name is also Brahman. You're asking a question, I'll say, what is that question? Question is Brahman. Answer is Brahman. Why do you have a question? You shouldn't have a question in the first place. It's all Brahman. Oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat. Who is eating? Brahman is eating. Brahman is hunger. Brahman is eating. Why do you need to eat? You don't need to eat. It's all Brahman. So
Yeah.
from the absolute, you can't have any discussion. You can't have any analysis. You have to come to the relative level to have a discussion. And when you come to the relative level, you have to accept that Brahman is different from the world. They're two different things. Only then we can have a discussion.
So I guess I'm trying to sort of find the interplay between the total reality and our conventional reality. And so, like, for example...
Sorry, Arjun. Arjun, we can keep going on for an hour like this. You will not learn. What you do is you take these concepts, you're mixing up too many things. You're mixing up too. You started with something, now you've gone to something else entirely. What I would recommend is you stay with these basic concepts and go back to it. You think you've understood, you've not understood. You've got to go back and you've got to go through these concepts again. They may sound simple when I explain it. It is not simple by any means. There's a lot of thought which goes into it. Stay with those concepts and then think about it and come back. Any amount of time you come back and ask the question, but you're still not got those basic concepts in place. I suggest you go back and reflect on it. And if there's something not clear, you bring it back again. Bring a bit, even to ask a question, you need to have analyzed and understood some of the basics. Otherwise, it's not easy to even ask a question.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Bhaskarji, can I ask a question?
Yes, Doran.
Hari Om Bhaskarji. From what I understand, right, is that Brahman is neutral, right? So whatever actions that you do, the person, the individual, whatever happens, is because of what you have to go through. Is that right? What you have to go through in their life?
Nothing. Your mind and intellect has a choice. You have a choice of action. And that choice of action comes through the mind and intellect.
Right.
With the mind and intellect, you're making the choices. You're taking decisions in life. Atman has nothing to do with it. God has nothing to do with it. It's your mind and intellect that is responsible for making the choices. You can't blame God. A terrorist chooses to terrorize people. You can't blame God for that. It's his faulty mind and intellect. There's a faulty mind and intellect which has to be corrected.
Right.
So God is beyond all that.
Thank you, Bhaskarji. Thank you.
Okay. Sandhya?
Hari Om Bhaskarji. Bhaskarji, when you say like in deep sleep, there are no thoughts. So like, is it not easy to have like self-realization in deep sleep state? Or, I mean, like, do we need awareness to realize Brahman?
Yes, you need awareness. You need to be conscious. The state of deep sleep is a state of ignorance. The bliss that you're experiencing in deep sleep is the bliss of ignorance. Say ignorance is bliss. That is deep sleep. It's not that there are no thoughts. There are thoughts. The thoughts are in a storage format. It's all stored, which you can't access it. And these thoughts get expressed in the dream and the waking states. So it's not that there are no thoughts in the deep sleep. You can't contact those thoughts. That's all. It's all there in storage. So therefore, deep sleep is not the state of perfection. It's not the state of self-realization. It's very misleading. Otherwise, I can all give you some drugs and put you all in deep sleep permanently. If that is a state of self-realization, why go through all this knowledge? Why go through all the analysis? Just put you to sleep and you'll say, now you got self-realization. Some cults may do that. You understand? I shouldn't be telling all this. Some guy may pick it up and form a cult and say, oh, here is the medicine for self-realization, and put everybody into sleep. No, please don't go into all those things. It's not possible. It's just a temporary satiation that you're getting. But true self-realization is through knowledge, not through ignorance, through awareness, through consciousness.
Thank you, Bhaskarji.
Okay. All right, everyone. Jagdish, your question is clear. You're just putting your hand up. Okay. All right, everyone. On that note, let's conclude. Hari Om. See you all next time.
Hari Om. Thank you very much.
Hari Om Guruji. Thank you.